Hello, and thank you so much for joining me, and welcome to my YouTube channel. We're going to discuss trade unions in leadership and management. And the following is the outline of today's discussion. So, number one, we're going to define what a trade union is. Number two, we're going to discuss the functions of a trade union. Number three, we're going to discuss the types of a trade union, and we're going to conclude today's discussion by highlighting the advantages and disadvantages of a trade union. Let us begin with objective number one, which is the definition of a trade union. So, a trade union is a group formed by employees of the same trade, firm, company, or industry to safeguard their rights, salaries, and working conditions from the exploitation of their employer. Let us go to objective number two. So, objective number two is the functions of a trade union. So the trade union roles or functions are related to the main types related to their members, organization of the union. So there is union activities and contribution to society. So in this case, we're going to discuss the functions pertaining to their members, their organizations, and also society. So let us begin by the function or the roles of a trade union to its members. So number one, to safeguard the workers' rights and privileges from management. Then number two, ensure a healthy and sound working environment. Number three, fight for the performance-linked bonus for workers. Number four, negotiate for insurance, housing, healthcare conditions, and cooperative society for the workers from management. Then lastly, to help workers financially in times of emergency through union funds and management. Number two is the organization function of a trade union. So, what is the function of a trade union pertaining to an organization? So, number one, to improve the production and worker efficiency as per requirement of the firm through discussions with management. Number two, to act as a bridge between the worker and the management for all types of communication. Number three, to convince management to act as a motivator and not as a punisher towards workers. Number four, to guide management in formulating and implementing employees' welfare schemes and activity. Number four or five, pardon me, we have to impress the management with pressure tactics to avoid illegal termination and punishment and treat every worker justly. Then lastly, to conduct elections for various posts of the union. Let us now look at the roles of a trade union and the union activity. So, number one, its role or function is to maintain records of the workers or members of the union. Number two, to organize various events to promote unity amongst its members. Number three, to act as a mediator between the aggrieved worker and the member superior, in this case being the employer. Then number four, to collect funds for strengthening the union. Number six, to provide or bring about a culture of leadership amongst its members. Then lastly, to help new members of the organization and the union settle down easily. Let us now look at the function of a trade union in relation to a society. So we have number one, to undertake social upliftments, workers for the poor, like free books, rotation, and scholarships to the needy. Then we have the second one being to raise voices against antisocial policies of the government and management of the related sector by the trade unionist. Then lastly, to be a role model for society in terms of social works. Let us now discuss the types of trade union. So the types of trade unions are as follows. We have number one, federation. Number two, industrial. Number three, general. Then we have the fourth one being occupational. Then number five, confederation. Number six, enterprise. So these are not in any form of a particular order. So let's begin with an enterprise. So an enterprise union can also be a formulation of a trade union where all members work for the same company rather than having the same trade. Then we have number two, confederation. So confederation also means a union of sovereign states in which the emphasis is laid on the autonomy of each constituent body. Then number three, occupational union. or an occupational trade union is a union whose job territory is restricted to members of a particular occupation, group, or crafts union of skilled manual workers that take this form as a union of professionals such as doctors, midwives, teachers, lecturers, and nurses. The next one is a general union. So, a general union is a trade union which represents workers from all industries and companies rather than just one organization or a particular sector, as in a craft union or a trade union. The other one is an industrial union. So, an industrial union or an industrial trade union combines all workers, both skilled and unskilled, who are employed in a particular industry. At the heart of an industrial unionism is also the slogan which states one shop, one union. Then the last one is the federation. So, federation implies a union of states in which the supremacy of the common government is recognized. Therefore, the distinction, however, is by no means universally observed. So, those are the types of trade unions. Let us now discuss the last part of today's discussion, which are the advantages and the disadvantages of a trade union. So, the advantages of a trade union are as follows. Number one, negotiate better pay. Then, number two, negotiate better working conditions. Then, number three, provide adequate training for new skill development. Then, number four, it gives a general advice and support. So, the other advantage of a trade union is that it increases productivity at an organization as it acts as a motivator. Let us now discuss the disadvantages of a trade union. So the following are some of the disadvantages of being part of a trade union. So number one, higher protection or production cost. Number two, limited workplace flexibility. Number three, exclusion of workers outside the union. The fourth disadvantage is that it can also result in unemployment. Then number five is that being part of a trade union can also reduce productivity because most of the times employees are also involved in strikes, which results in low production. So this basically marks the end of this presentation. Thank you so much for joining me and see you next time.